Good morning and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Lydia Odije Ochi.
And I'm Musbad and Wahab. Thanks a lot for joining us on the network service. Let's see the headlines on the news.
It's my hope that this exercise will receive the usual kind, expeditious consideration of the distinguished Senate.
Senate set to screen ministerial nominees today.
All uniformed institutions of the federal government henceforth to patronize locally produced garments.
I want to assure you that we shall remain committed to creating an inclusive and diversified economy.
Federal government to adopt effective community policing as part of measures to address various security challenges.
Plus, House of Representatives Committee to interface with the executive and heads of security agencies towards tackling violent protests by the Islamic movement of Nigeria.
And now the details. The Senate is to commence the screening of ministerial nominees today, the 24th of July, 2019.
Now, this followed the transmission of 43 names from President Muhammadu Buhari in accordance with Section 147, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
Senate reconvened into a closed-door session. 1 hour after, the closed-door session ends and President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, read the most anticipated executive communication. The names of ministerial nominees for confirmation, as requested by President Muhammadu Buhari, include Uche Chukwuoga, Mohammed Musa Bello, Godswill Ababio, Miriam Katangum, George Akume, Mustafa Babas Shahuri, Clement Abba, Geoffrey Onyama, Emeka Nwajuba, Suleiman Adamu, Zainab Ahmed, Muhammad Mahmoud, Abubakar Malami, Hadi Sirika, Ramatu Tijani, Lai Mohammed, Gbemisola Saraki, Rauf Aregbe Shola, Pauline Tallinn, Rotimi Amechi, Abubakar Aliyu, and Sadiya Umar Farouk.
It is my hope that this exercise will receive the usual kind, expeditious consideration of the distinguished Senate. Please accept, Mr. Senate President, the assurances of my highest regards. You are sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari.
Among the immediate past ministers that were nominated include Lai Mohammed, Abubakar Malami, Geoffrey Onyama, Zainab Ahmed, Chris Ngige, Adamu, Hadi Sirika, Babatunde Fashola, and Rotimi Amechi. Senate thereafter confirmed the appointment of 15 special advisors to President Muhammadu Buhari. The chairman, Senate Ad hoc Committee on Media and Publicity, Senator Adedayo Adeye, briefed Senate correspondents on the presidential request.
Which is to look at them based on their qualification, their experience, their security clearance, and then to make a judgment that these people are fit and proper people to hold the high office of minister.
It is expected that the Senate will conclude a screening of all the nominees before embarking on its annual recess. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
All right, as you might have heard, the screening begins this morning at the National Assembly. Let's get some updates from there where Ignatius Nkwo is standing by to give us some mood of the National Assembly.
Because today is a day that the Senate will be screening ministerial nominees, and those ministerial nominees usually come in here with influx of friends and relations. And then when these begins to, play out, people begin to come in and leave, you begin to notice that something is going to happen in the Senate today, and today is going to be a busy day. It's going to be a handful day for the senators. Well, yesterday, being Tuesday, when the Senate read names of these nominees from President Muhammadu Buhari, it did step down some of the motions, items that were meant to be considered this week, just to make sure that they will concentrate on the screening of these ministers. And then today is the D-Day, and the Senate appears set for this screening. Well, from the other paper, the only item that will be considered today on the floor is this screening. But then the ministers will come in. When they come in, some of them are already here, and they will be seated inside the office of the Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly matter, from where they will be ushered into the chamber for the screening. And then their seats have all been positioned at a strategic place where the ministerial nominees will be sitting. We have with us here Senator Adamu Bolkachua. He's here to tell us what to expect by the time the Senate reconvenes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed.
Now, Senator, what do we expect? How is this going to play out, the screening? Is the Senate set?
Well, this screening issue, there is nothing in it except the fact that this is not new. Senate, this is the 9th Senate, and since the first Senate, we have been doing the screening. So it's an issue that is well known by all senators, and is going to take its normal course, and nothing unusual will take place.
Okay, normally we'll see on a day like this, we'll see that the Senate will go on a closed-door session and then come back. Are we expecting something like that?
Well, yes, we'll go on a closed session, but that is only for us to decide exactly how the modalities and how the screening will take place and which order it will take. That's all.
All right, we were meant to understand that the Senate has postponed its recess in order to conclude this screening exercise, and then that the Senate will sit on some days that ordinarily they shouldn't have sat for plenary. How true is this?
It is very true, and the reason for that is, we were set to go on recess by Thursday this week. That's by tomorrow. But then the list came yesterday, and we are a very responsible Senate, and we mean to work for Nigerians. So when the list came, we had to adjust our timetable for the recess, and then we decided we will have to work extra, because this is a very serious job. We have to work extra days, so we will work on Friday from 10 to 12, go to the mosque for those who are Muslims, and then we'll come back at 4 o'clock. Well, God knows, if we can finish for that day, yes. If not, we will continue up to midnight.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so very much.
Well, that is the situation here at the National Assembly. Like we did say, the Senate is set to commence at the first batch of the screening of the presidential list of ministerial nominees. Well, as soon as the Senate reconvenes, we will now take you straight to the Red Chamber so as to follow the proceedings of the day.
Thanks, Ignatius. Musbao, President Buhari had earlier said that he was under intense pressure to release the ministerial nominees.
At least it's a good thing now. Finally, the list is out. The government needs to get to work. This needs to be done on time so that the government will start to work in earnest. And it's a good thing, too, that the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, has displayed patriotism by delaying their vacation. They're supposed to proceed on a vacation, but they're staying back to take on the screening of the ministerial nominees.
That's patriotism at its highest.
Right, but remember, you get the screening live on the network service of the NTA.
Now, following President Muhammadu Buhari's submission of his ministerial list to the Senate for confirmation, guests on NTA News 24 Current Affairs program Nigeria Today commended the president for these elections.
Those ones that have returned, you could see that definitely they must have performed well in the eyes of Mr. President, and probably also in the eyes of reports that he must have gotten about them, which means they are persons of character, and they are persons who could do the job, they are persons to deliver, And that's that. And for the new ones as well. You know, government is about continuity.
Looking at even the youth, I think the president need to look critically. I was thinking that also we'll have youth looking at the aspirations, looking at this, the way the youth came in, you know, during the politicking and the contributions they've made.
The guests also believe government is about continuity. Therefore, the return of some of the former ministers is a welcome development. They, however, believe that more women and youth participation in governance is important. Nigeria Today airs weekdays on NTA News 24.
Now let's get some stories from the State House as a deliberate attempt towards revitalizing the nation's textile industry. The Bureau of Public Procurement has been directed to ensure that all uniformed institutions of the federal government patronize locally produced garments.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave the directive while granting audience to the National Union of Textile, Garment and Tailoring Workers of Nigeria, said his administration will not allow the country to continue exporting jobs at the expense of its citizens. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
This is the first formal engagement between the National Union of Textile, Garment and Tailoring Workers of Nigeria with any sitting president of the country since formation over 40 years ago. The historic event is not, however, the main reason for the joyous moment, but most importantly, the unprecedented, result-oriented steps taken by the Buhari administration towards revitalizing the textile industry.
Your Excellency, we are here to acknowledge and commend your efforts in changing the narrative of textile from that of closures to a bold new initiative to revive the industry back to the good old days.
Consequently, the union's national president, John Adaji, conferred on President Buhari an honorary permanent member and life patron of the union. The president said with the potential of the textile and garment sector to create millions of jobs, his administration will stop at nothing towards bringing back the good old days.
One can just imagine the jobs we will create in the sector when the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, Nigerian Air Force, the police, customs, immigration, Federal Road Safety Corps, NYSC, and many more fully patronize our local industries.
Nigeria, President Buhari said, is now firmly on the path of sustainable growth and therefore all its citizens, especially the young, dynamic, as well as energetic, as many jobs as possible.
I want to assure you that we shall remain committed to creating an inclusive and diversified economy that provides jobs, opportunities for all Nigerians, regardless of tribe, religion, or politics. We will not allow the importation of clothing items which can be produced locally. We owe this to the over 200 million Nigerians.
The president blamed many of the challenges being faced by the country today to the concentration of wealth and opportunities in a few sectors that do not create jobs for the majority, saying this will not be the case anymore under his watch. Apart from providing suggestions on the best way forward, the National Union of Textile, Garment and Tailoring Workers of Nigeria pledged continued support and cooperation towards creating more jobs and growing the economy.
For Nigeria to realize to the fullest the potentials existing in our sector, your administration should establish a Ministry of Textile. We urge you to remain steadfast, not to be distracted in the task of nation building. We will partner with you to defend the unity of Nigeria. We will also partner with you to create more jobs for the youth and keep them out of the street.
Records show that from over 180 functional textile mills employing more than 320,000 workers in the 70s and 80s, Nigeria now has only about 25 mills. But with the changing narrative, returning to the good old days is just a matter of time. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
You are watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Let's pause for some messages. More reports shortly. Don't go away.
Thanks a lot for staying tuned in to Vanessa 10 on the network service of the NTA. President Muhammadu Buhari is commiserating with the families of Precious Owolabi, a National Youth Service Corps member with Channels Television, and Deputy Commissioner of Police Usman Umar of the Federal Capital Territory Police Command, who died during the violent protest by members of Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, in Abuja on Monday. Special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, in a statement says the President also condoles with the management and staff of the television station and police leadership over the losses, urging them to remain steadfast and committed to their professional callings, describing Owolabi and Umar as law-abiding, hard-working and vibrant Nigerians with a promising future. President Buhari calls their untimely death sad, regrettable and worrisome.
Meanwhile, the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, says the security and welfare of corps members will not be compromised. Director General of the NYSC, Brigadier General Shuaibu Ibrahim, reaffirmed this during a visit to a corps member, Suleiman Aliu, serving with leadership newspapers, who sustained injuries as a result of a stray bullet at the National Hospital. The NYSC boss also visited the morgue where the body of Precious Owolabi was kept. Owolabi was serving with Channels Television. The incident happened during the protest by members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, popularly known as Shiite, that later became violent. Olayinka Ojo reports that the NYSC boss, while expressing sadness over the incident, described the demise of Precious Owolabi as a great loss to the NYSC, his family, and the nation at large.
I want to commiserate and condole the family of the deceased that his service to our country will not be in vain, and that may his soul rest in perfect peace.
The remains of late Precious Owolabi, a graduate of performing arts from the University of Ilorin, have been taken to Zaria, Kaduna State, where his parents reside.
Meanwhile, over 50 suspects are currently in police custody following Monday's violent protest by members of Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, which left a senior police officer and a Channels Television reporter dead. Force Public Relations Officer Frank Umba, speaking exclusively to the NTA, says the suspects are already being interrogated and will be prosecuted accordingly. Frank Umba says while the police will not stand against the rights of citizens to peaceful protest, there will not be intense surveillance and other security measures and aimed at ensuring safety of lives and property.
Around the city, and we will do everything that is permissible under the law to keep Nigerians safe.
The force spokesperson urges all law-abiding Nigerians to go about their legitimate businesses without fear.
Now, the House of Representatives has set up an ad hoc committee to interface with the executive arm of government and heads of security agencies in order to devise new strategies towards tackling the violent protests by the Islamic movement of Nigeria.
National Assembly correspondent Kenneth Nanim reports that the resolution followed a motion of urgent public importance by Representative Mohammed Bello from Kano State on the need to contain the extremism by the Shiite group.
The House of Representatives noted that activities of the Islamic movement of Nigeria have become a threat to the FCT and its environs and could put in jeopardy the corporate existence of Nigeria, especially as lives and property of the countrymen are being lost.
If urgent steps are not taken to proscribe Islamic movement of Nigeria or declare their assembly unlawful in Nigeria, the group may likely arm itself and turn a deadly group.
We need to nip these things in the bud. We need to step away from rhetorics.
With adequate policing, the Shiites, that congregation of yesterday, cannot come together and do what they do without them being...
I don't even subscribe to the idea of proscribing them. It's a registered organization, but as a registered organization operating under a democratic polity, we must be able to operate by the rules.
The members, however, expressed contrary views when the Speaker called for amendments of prayers on the motion.
My amendment is specific to Kaduna State government to obey the court order that had granted bail to the Sheikh, because that would actually guarantee peace.
So those in support of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The nays have it. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
The situation warranted a closed-door session, after which the Speaker disclosed resolution of the House on the matter.
Ad hoc committee to interface with the executive on the security issues raised. Honorable Ado Dogwa will chair. Honorable Undidi Elumelu. Honorable Mohamed Shehu. Honorable Ade Adiogun. Honorable Idu Igariwe, Honorable Victor Nwokolo, Honorable Makama Ibrahim Misal.
In another motion of urgent public importance by Representative Taiwo Oluga from Osun State, the House believes that addressing the increasing number of out-of-school children in the country will be instrumental to containing security challenges and issues of underdevelopment across the nation. Plenary was adjourned till Wednesday, the 24th of July 2019. From the National Assembly, Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Now let's talk some business. The Central Bank of Nigeria retains monetary policy rate as Nigeria Customs Service pledges to secure Nigeria's borders. Let's join Kunle Ade for details of this.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria left the rate unaltered, which still stands at 13.5%. The 11 members in attendance unanimously agreed to retain the rate. Besides the monetary policy rate retained at 13.5%, the cash reserve ratio is now held at 22.5%. The committee premised its decision on global economic growth and Nigeria's inflation figure, which is at 11.22%.
That while loosening could increase money supply, stimulate aggregate demand, and strengthen domestic production, the economy could be awash with excess liquidity, especially if loosening drives growth in consumer credit without commensurate adjustment in aggregate output.
In another development, Nigeria Customs Service has pledged to be more alive to its responsibilities at the nation's borders following Nigeria's signing of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs Service, Amid Ali, said the aim is to protect the interest of those involved.
Customs responsibility is to ensure that every good that is coming, that we enjoy that duty-free designed by the protocol, must have originated from a member state. That's very critical.
And the equities market on Tuesday closed on a positive note as Nigeria's stock exchange or share index appreciated by 1.21% to close at 28,144.87 points as against 0.40% depreciation recorded previously. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Another report now coming from the presidential villa, which says the federal government has promised to ensure that more investments are channeled in Nigeria's technological sector towards opening up the space for enhanced creativity, innovation, and digital skills.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who stated this while receiving letters of credence from 3 new ambassadors posted to Nigeria, said this is to provide job opportunities for the youths and grow the economy. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo again has that.
The new envoys that presented their letters of credence to President Muhammadu Buhari were the Portuguese ambassador to Nigeria, Luis Felipe Ribeiro da Silva Barros, Jamaican High Commissioner Esmond St. Clair Reid, as well as the ambassador of Indonesia, Dr. Usra Hendra Harahap. Exchanging views with the Portuguese ambassador, President Muhammadu Buhari said the wave of technological growth across the globe has provided more opportunities for development, especially economies willing to retool and build capacities in areas of need. Nigeria, he said, is endowed with abundant human resource potentials, not only willing but waiting to be meaningfully engaged, and therefore urged the ambassador to focus on building stronger economic ties with the country that will be mutually rewarding. Ambassador Da Silva Barros of Portugal, who noted the various startup companies in many parts of Nigeria, said his country will support efforts at enhancing the capacity of the small businesses, especially in areas of agriculture, academics, vocational skills, and security. He congratulated the president for winning a second term of office and promised to push bilateral relations with Nigeria to new levels. Engaging the High Commissioner of Jamaica to Nigeria, President Buhari described as pleasing the growing community of Nigerians in the country conducting themselves harmoniously and exploring opportunities in businesses. The president assured the High Commissioner of Nigeria's support in improving bilateral relations. The Jamaican envoy told the president that Nigerians in Jamaica have been very active in academics and looks forward to broader cooperation in areas of tourism as well as craft and skills transfer. At a similar engagement with Ambassador Harahap of Indonesia, the president said trade relations between both countries should be improved and appreciated the country for always standing by Nigeria in international affairs like the recent election of Nigeria's permanent representatives to the United Nations, Professor Tijani Muhammad Bande, as president of 74th General Assembly. The Indonesian envoy said his country will be willing to have stronger relations with Nigeria on security, trade, and crude oil importation, saying Nigeria's oil is top quality and deeply needed in his country. All the new envoys were treated to a befitting diplomatic reception on arrival at the presidential villa by officers and soldiers of the Presidential Guards Brigade. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
It's now time to pause for another break. The news at 10 continues shortly. Don't go away.
Issues in the sports sector remain one of the